I felt the need to talk about a very, very sensitive topic. It is blasting all over social media. And I think that this is a topic that is very important to have a topic of discussion about. It's involving domestic violence. So I want to make it very clear before I dive into this video that it is sensitive information. And if you feel that it is something too much to handle, or again, we have a saying on social media called trigger alert. Trigger alert basically states that there are going to be themes and topics in the conversation that may be offensive, uncomfortable. However, it is a topic of conversation that needs to come out. It needs to be spoken on. And so I'm going to pretty much utilize the documentary by a great, great um, a film artist by the name of Dia Khan. She's on YouTube and she has a documentary titled Domestic Violence. And what I love about her documentary is that she goes into very intricate questioning for the abusers so that we can look into the mind to understand what is actually going on in the background in their thought processes when they are abusing someone. And I want to give Dia Khan much, much consideration. Thank you so much for this great piece of work. I really felt that you should have charged for it in all transparency because it's really that good. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for being inspired for this piece of art that is phenomenal. So enough of me talking. We're going to dive into the video. I won't do the entire video. We'll do specific clips on it. Again, I want to give full creative content to give consideration to the content creator, Dia Khan. That's DeeYahKaan. Please visit her YouTube channel. She is the originator of this content. Again, I thank her so much for putting this work out there. So let's get started.
This was the first time in my life I ever stopped and looked at myself for a long time in the mirror. And it was like, damn, I took a woman's life, and that's the hardest thing to live with, is that I killed a woman.
I would choke her. I would push her down. I would hold her down. I was addicted to that dominance.
I've lied to her. I've spit on her. I have grabbed by the neck too, yes. I pushed her down to the dirt and I stomped on her hand.
I remember cornering that girl, and I physically beat the shit out of her.
My name is Dia Khan. I'm a filmmaker and activist. I've been fighting violence against women for the past 15 years. I wanted to meet the men who abuse their loved ones. I wanted to find out why violence against women happens and how we can stop it.
I never cared. It was about me.
I'm in my house, so nobody's really gonna tell me anything. It feels like America's phrase, land of the free.
There's a greater consequence in the United States for killing a bald eagle than there is for assaulting your wife.
Y'all say y'all love us. Y'all say y'all want to take care of us. But this is what you do. Why are you doing what you do?
February 22, 2017.
911, where is your emergency?
In 2017, emergency services in Baton Rouge received a call.
I've been shot. I can't breathe. My chest is getting heavy. It's going on. Please hurry, please hurry. I don't want to die.
Angela Gabriel had been shot by her partner, Carl Thompson, while she was lying in the bath.
He was standing in the bathroom door, and I saw the last 2 gunshots. And when he stopped shooting, I say, "You shot me." And he says, "Look what you made me do, Angie. You made me shoot you."
Doctors saved her life. but at a terrible cost.
My mom was standing there and she was crying and she asked the doctor, is my baby permanently paralyzed? And the doctor says, yes, ma'am, your daughter will never walk again. My reaction to that news was, Mama, don't cry. I just beat you to a diaper first. That's how I took the news that I would be paralyzed.
Immediately after he shot her, Carl also rang 911, confessing to the crime and expressing remorse.
Look, I just shot my
Hello?
girlfriend. I just
Shot your girlfriend? What's your
I
address?
need an ambulance. I'm sorry.
Like I said, initially when I came home, I couldn't turn over. I had to wait for my mom to get up, come help me roll in the bed and help me get dressed.
Angela's partner was given 45 years in prison. She has now made an extraordinary decision. She visits groups of convicted male abusers to speak to them face to face about their actions. He's recently been released from prison for what he did to his wife.
She was a beautiful person. I remember her laugh. I remember her smile, her freckles. I won't ever forget it. I won't ever forget it because
Daniel says before he met his wife, he had had a very troubled childhood and became a drug addict. He was in recovery when he met his future wife.
in hindsight, I was masking a whole lot of feelings that I was trying to run away from. She ended up becoming a scapegoat to a lot of the feelings that I was trying to run from.
He started to develop feelings of anger and jealousy and became very controlling.
She felt like, I remember her saying that she felt like she was walking on eggshells with me.
What was that like for you to hear that, to hear your wife being afraid of you?
I didn't care. I didn't care. It made me feel like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to make sure you instill fear in it, because if you instill fear in it, it's a controlling mechanism. I didn't want her to abandon me.
Daniel had a good job as a chef, but after he lost his job, he turned again to drugs.
That was the worst thing I could have did, because I had lost all control then. I was a negative entity. That anger had infected my whole body, and we became separated. But I became obsessive. And not only did I become obsessive, I became a stalker. That led up to the morning that I actually did what I did. When I went there on September the 19th, it was around 6 o'clock in the morning. And I went there, and I was so angry. And I did not know to the extent of how bad I reacted until I seen the autopsy report. When I read the autopsy, I didn't know that I had stabbed her multiple times, and it was one fatal blow. And it was at the base of her neck. That was a fatal blow. But I didn't know that it was 13 times, because I was so far in a rage that it did it. And I jumped up and I ran. And she had died with a friend's mother trying to save her. That's what shame feels like. Looking at self in the mirror and all you see is a monster, and you hate what you see. I hated me. It's been 32 years. I think about it, but I think about it every day because it's the worst thing I could have done.
I would push her down, I would hold her down. I picked her up and I choked her so severely. She soiled her clothes and was out like a sleep.
Why choking? A lot of the men I've spoken to said that they would choke women.
She's very good with words. So I would go straight to the source of the problem and cut it off. I was addicted to that dominance. I know without a doubt that it's not okay to harm a female for any reason, especially out of anger.
Even then, you knew that?
Even then, I knew that.
So you knew you were doing the wrong thing?
Absolutely.
And you did it anyway because?
I mean, because I could. Because she was weaker than I could. She was weaker than me.
He never physically assaulted his wife, but he did refer himself to a domestic violence project in Massachusetts after years of verbally abusing her.
In the beginning, I wrote off not doing anything physical as I'm not as bad as those guys, I'm better than those guys. And then I finally realized after taking responsibility that it didn't matter. It was all pretty much the same thing.
One final incident disturbed him.
She was at the stove. I was putting dishes away. I think she was yelling too, but I know I was yelling. And I'm putting a sharp knife away, putting it away, thinking, boy, I'm really angry right now. My wife is right next to me, and I have a knife. This is a real bad situation. If I go much further, I could just use it. I felt like I could do it if I wanted to. I could go further. That I felt like I could cross that boundary scared the hell out of me. And I put that knife away and stopped. Before the rage, I always felt I was stressed out. The job, the car, the traffic, the wife, the kids. It felt like I was in a cage, you know, all kind of closed in, nowhere to move, can't get out of this thing. And the flip could be at home, the flip could be in the car. It wouldn't be in a restaurant, it wouldn't be in a store. So there's no witnesses, basically. You know, my wife and I have stayed together. Things are good. I know the wound is still there, and it's probably still a large wound. I would highly recommend for anybody who has a spouse that is so full of rage that they either get into a program real quick about domestic violence or leave.
Recently released from prison after murdering his wife over 30 years ago. Now he's going to undergo therapy to go back over his whole life and try to understand what happened. They start by discussing something they have in common, a damaged childhood.
When I was growing up, my father never had a conversation with me. And I started when I was 5 years old because I had so much fear of my father. At that time, he had put that much fear in me. And by 12 years old, I'm fighting him. I'm trying to fight him, you know, because I didn't know what to do with my emotions. And that was something that we didn't have in our house.
There's lots of people that have crappy upbringings, right? They still don't kill their wives. it actually makes them want to be the opposite. So for me, my anger towards my father took the direction of not wanting to be like him, wanting to be the opposite.
But I became like him.
Not respecting weakness, not like having contempt for people who are weak.
Yeah, I've cussed my mother out. I even destroyed some things in the house.
Why were you angry at her?
Because she wasn't there for me when I was growing up either.
Okay. So you're angry at the person who's easy to get angry at, right?
No.
You can't get angry at the person you're afraid of. But I would say, Daniel, that you have no idea what your mother was like. She's doing things to appease your father. She's not her own person. And you're judging her. You're angry at her. She's the easy person to be angry at. And then you extend that anger towards the women that you get involved with. Taking your anger out on women, right? I mean, that's basically the way that you copied him.
I hope that everyone was able to see the various backgrounds of the different abusers. And what I appreciated so much about this film, this documentary, is that it focused primarily on the thought processes, the perspective of the abuser. And a common thing that all three of them pretty much said, one, in fact, two of them said it verbally, while the other one, it was sort of passively aggressively implied. They didn't care. They just didn't care. And number two, they just felt that that's what they could do. They just had this sense of entitlement that they could do it and get away with it. And as I express that, there's something in that space of thinking that entitlement, right? Entitlement because you could. What is the programming that is in men? Because I'm just going to be transparent with you, right? There's a content creator that I just truly adore him. His name is Public Offender, and he's doing a great job just talking about this topic of misogyny and patriarchy. And though he doesn't go so much into the legal aspect of it so much, he does talk about it or talk around it, right? Because he's talking and communicating, creating conversations more through the experience and connecting it logically to how it all comes from patriarchal programming. What does that mean? So myself, I used to be a Christian many years ago. And even as a young girl, having, a family that was pretty much raised up in the Christian religion. My grandfather was a bishop, and my grandmother was also a pastor and an evangelist. And so me and my family, we grew up in the church. We went to church every weekend. My mother was an avid, I mean, she literally was in church every single day. So much so that she used to tell me stories about how much, she just got so tired of it after a while that the spiritual aspect of it just bypassed a lot of times because the dogmatic aspect of being programmed with religion and God and women and men and the Bible, she just got burnt out by it. And my aunt and my uncles also felt the same way too. All three of them, rest them in their travels. They all have passed away. But nonetheless, that was one of the implications of being in religion was that, especially in the Christian religion, they teach you that, man is the head, woman is supposed to be subjective. And when I went into religion, into the Christianity faith, I read the Bible for myself, right? I read the book of Matthew, the book of John. One of my favorites was the book of Exodus and Revelation and Genesis. My favorite is Proverbs. But nonetheless, when I opened up the book of Genesis, I didn't get that message. I didn't get the message at all that, it did state in the Bible that, women are to be submissive to their husbands, but it also spoke about men also being submissive to their wives. So when I would compare what I read in the Bible and compare it to the experiences that I saw in the world, I saw a disconnect immediately. And I'm like, well, why is it that people are not doing what the Bible says to do? Because this is supposed to be the law. God's law is supposed to be superior to all. And I saw the disconnect there. I saw the hypocrisy there. I've seen it from a very young girl, and I don't know why, but I was always very self-aware to connect those type of things. But what is my point, and how does this all tie into domestic violence? Set aside the historical factor of how we came into patriarchy and how many years it's been established here in this Western society. It is a program that is filtered through religion, which then puts a lot of mental processes into men to think that they are the head, they are superior, they are better, they are the ones who didn't disobey God. It was the woman Eve who did it. And though I'm not going to use this video per se to dive into the facts and the truth of those historical details, what that storyline has done through the caste system of patriarchy, right? Because it is a caste system. It disenfranchises men just as much as it disenfranchises women, because it doesn't tell the truth. It gives this pseudo sense of superiority based off, quote, God's word, right? And no one questions it, right? No one questioned it for many, many years. We all just kind of just assimilated this programming. And this here, domestic violence, is one of the, to me, one of the legs that has come out of patriarchy, okay, where domestic violence is being, it is not considered as a true act of being a murderer. Like, just because you don't always physically murder the woman, or a woman has a domestic violence situation against a man, murder does not always be, or is the end result. I mean, you have verbal abuse, you have mental abuse, you have so many other forms of manipulation at play, right, that can equal up to it being violent because of the abuse, the disassociation, the projections, the deflections, the narcissism, so many other things, the emotional abuse. It's all just programs and system legs of control to get other people to be influenced by your will. And it's one of the things that I have in my course in life and experience in my own wisdom. I understand why men are driven to power. Power means more to men than love, to affection, to intimacy, to connection. It's the ability to influence something else outside of the self to get it to do your will, to do what it wants to do. So what am I saying? It is a program which it makes the person reliant on something outside of itself. Let's just tell the truth for what it is, right? That is the fact of how each aspect of those details are played out. The effect of it comes different, happens different, shows up differently, yet ultimately the foundation, the root, the actual connection is power wants to be able to take and influence and move something outside of the self to make it do your will. And yeah, there is some essence of a godlike foundation involved in that, right? I mean, there's very little consideration of the other person as being a human, having a tremendous amount of nuances that come as a result of being a human, and those things are not considered. If you want to just use religion and spirituality as the foundation, even God has grace. God gives grace. So if man is the head and man is, quote, God, where is the grace? Where is the grace for the women on the planet? Right? And I take such a personal touch on this topic is because I unfortunately suffered domestic violence at the hands of, I wouldn't call him a man, I would just say he is a male with a very nefarious background. And it was unfortunate, the course of events, and I wasn't going to say anything. I did not want to even talk about it, but I was led on my spirit to bring it out and talk about it. In fact, so much so, um, I truly believe that there is been some nefarious acts even done after I left the relationship just to keep my mouth quiet because the individual was so petrified and scared that I was going to talk, even said to me that he was going to hurt my children as a result of knowing that he did this, knowing that it was wrong. Um, and I just remember the day, just like any other woman who dealt with domestic violence, you just know, like, it just doesn't get more red flag than that, right? I have shared this with my children very gently because I did not want to bring that upon them to know, first of all, just they both know that I unfortunately went through that experience. Um, but this is really an act of murder on a person's soul, whether it is from a man to a woman or from a woman to a man. And I was just led to speak about this because this man here on the screen actually somehow got to the point of such a rage and a blindness where he was not even in control of his own mind or his body and anything. And that's a wrath. And that's one of the things that God teaches you about one of the 7 deadly sins is wrath. And I do know from my own personal experience that with wrath, there is every other sin results from that: pride, lust, greed, sloth, not doing what you're supposed to do. All of that stuff is rooted in wrath, right? So, though this person here who is a counselor was, I assume, and I can kind of get it, that he was eventually trying to dive into those details so that the person here on the screen could see how it wasn't just about that you'd had childhood wounds. I mean, we all have childhood wounds. I don't think anyone has grown up with perfect parents. I think parents do the best that they can. I think parents sometimes don't do the best that they can, but ultimately it's on you to move forth through life with what you have experienced and to make it something either different or you just pretty much just following the same footsteps and do what everybody else has done, which unfortunately this person on the screen followed right in the footsteps of his own father, and actually he went further to actually take someone's life. That another incident that I kind of relate to because my father was also murdered as well in 2015 by a friend of his. Um, I always felt that you're bonded to that person. And I love God in that way because I believe that that is the way that the soul and the spirit gets to understand that this is just something you don't do. You don't do. So, whatever is going on in the person's body, their mind, their spirit, whatever, when, however, the disconnect had happened. I mean, we haven't even talked about mental illness or mental dysfunctions and things that some people are just born predisposed to certain type of things because they're dealing, unfortunately, with, and I don't like to say unfortunately, but they're dealing with mental conditions that prohibit them from seeing things in a healthy way, whether it's emotionally, whether it's mentally. And I don't know if the person or individual has dived that deeply into their own healing and knowledge of self, but ultimately these are certain things that play themselves out. So it's not just about necessarily you didn't have the proper upbringing by your father or your mother. Sometimes there are mental conditions there that because they're there, you are sensitive and predisposed to not be able to discern things in the moment to know what is the healthy state and healthy thing to do. And that person you murdered would more than likely, or that was murdered or is being abused, was probably one that was trying to help. I really, truly, for some reason, have that understanding. And there's something that happens in the individual that's dealing with the wrath, that they are envious or jealous or angry because maybe you have it and they don't. There's so many nuances that go into why people act out domestic violence. But we know that wrath is just a result of jealousy and envy and other nuances that are just percolating below the surface. That here you come and you're this person unaware of this person's past, what they deal with, if they're even honest about what they have going on in their mind, in their spirit, yet they're willing to go into a connection with you either sexually or financially. I mean, it gets really, really, really detailed. And so I felt the need to talk about this documentary because one, obviously, obviously, but unfortunately, it's affected my life and many countless other people in the world. And I was led to speak about it. I was led to talk about this, and I was told to speak about this. And in all transparency, I did not want to. However, I'm always going to do the will of God. If God tells me to speak about it, to do something with it, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I want to send a special extension of love and honor and consideration and strength for all people who have experienced domestic violence. My heart goes out to every single one of you because I know how hard you have to work to get through your day, to get through your week, to get through the month, to get through the year, to deal with the questioning. How did this happen? How did I not see it? Why me? All of the questions that come up as the victim of abuse. And just know it was never about you. Never about you. And I want to make that extremely clear that we live in a world where you never know what's on someone's mind. And it is a duty for every person to take time and get to know the people that are around you. That if you want to extend your time, your energy, your money, your life, share children with, get to know the person you are with. You don't have any idea where this person comes from, what they have dealt with, their family background, their family history, mental conditions, dysfunctions, things of that nature. Like, this is the work that comes. I know that one of the first laws of the cosmos is self-preservation, right? Self-preservation is a real thing, and every single human has a responsibility to preserve your life by any means necessary. That doesn't mean a woman, that doesn't mean a man, it means both. Everyone has a responsibility to the self to protect yourself, to do the work, to be visual and pay attention and ask questions and dive into what you are about to get into. Because just like they say in Christian religion, the devil walks to and fro on the earth seeking that which may be destroyed. And it is a fact. Okay. There are entities in people through drugs, through sexual perversions, through all kind of things that take over the mind and the body, and people don't even recognize what they even did after it's done. It's like, I did that. Like, this really happened. They almost don't even remember the event. And it really blows my mind at times how so many abusers, whether they're in jail, whether they have had conversations with therapists and counselors, that is a common thing that a lot of abusers will say after the fact, after the event, after the experience. They say, I don't know what happened. I don't know what came over me. I don't know why I did it. And it's almost like whatever was in them, the job was done. And it was like, it's like it just moves on. Or some just sit with it and just keep creating, unfortunately, other abused victims, of course, along the way. This video is pretty long and obviously with good intention and good reasons. And I want to, again, thank Ms. Dia Khan. Thank you so much for creating this documentary. It is extremely detailed. It is a beautiful piece of art. And I want to extend my love and extend my thank you for having courage that people that have been abused. I want to really extend my love to domestic violence victims. You are awesome. You are the shit. You are really, really a testimony of how if you just don't give up, never give up, keep going and share your story and give back and do some work and help out as best as you can, because you are truly one of the warriors on the planet. This is our Ashtat.
This is Matriarch Endeavor's YouTube channel. We welcome you. Thank you for watching.